Welcome to another episode of the Caution Free Podcast. I am your host, Colton Sutley, along with my co-host, Tim Friedhaber, and today we have on as our guest, Bodey McClintock. Uh, Bodey, just to start out, just kind of tell us a little bit of how you got into racing.
Yeah, so we kind of got into racing all the way back in 1999 when we started with go-karts and stuff like that. The Miller family at a East Hickory there kind of got us in there big. And we just kind of hit the first tracks and, it was kind of like an addiction, a drug there that we just never stopped. I mean, we took a couple years off. Uh, with me working on the road, doing pipe welding and things like that. But as my career has changed, we got back into it full force and went kind of right up to the rates. It's always been a big thing in our family. Uh, my dad used to race stock cars out at Tri City back in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. And uh, he kind of hung it up, and we jumped in it full force.
Um, yeah, and you know, Grandpa, he was part of like a messing around with some cars that raced out at Tri-City back in like the 60s and stuff. And so, I got an old program from back in the 60s that even has his name in it for working on a car and stuff, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool history. I mean, we're the third generation that I know of that are getting back, into racing on my mom's side and stuff like that. I was a huge military background, uh, so we don't really have any racing on that side. Um, but we do have that all incorporated in our car. Uh, my brother that's racing too. Uh, he'd serve time, and then there's actually like three guys on our pit crew that serve time and stuff like that. That's why we do our tail tank. We dedicate that to veterans. And sneak peek on that one this year, it's a POW tail tank down the back of it. Is what they picked out. They pick it out every year. Um, but so we have one side, we just kind of put the veterans, a couple charities together, and the racing and all of it. And that's why we're doing it. We have so much fun doing that stuff.
Um, Going back to when you were racing go-karts, about how many years would you say you raced go-karts?
Oh, I mean, I was 5. I was born in 94. We started in summer of 99. Uh, we ran it all the way up until 13, 14. So about about 8, 9 years we did that. We traveled all over from Du Bois to Shippensville, Albion, and Slippery Rock. We went all over the place and just had a blast. We got a couple points championships, couple wins. Um, we were always consistent in the top three everywhere we went, but uh, then we took that break and moved on up.
Um, just well, when you got back into racing, you got into driving a mini stock.
Yeah,
Kind of
yep.
talk about that, and then transition from the mini stock to the 305 wing sprint car that you raced last year.
Yeah, so when we got back into it, our goal was always to try to get into like a full size car. Um, just kind of with my height and making the decision to go back and forth to go karts and stuff. The tracks are kind of more spread out a little bit for the go karts, and I'm 6'2", 220. Don't really fit in a go kart very much there. Uh, so we went into the mini stocks. We did that for a couple years. We had 3 years in that, traveling all over for that. Did the SCRAs. It's a sanctioned circuit. And then we raced local to Tri City and Mercer, Hummingbird, and stuff like that. Uh, it was fun. Uh, the only thing with it is you're basing it off of a chassis that's kind of made, in the 90s, early 2000s. So up here in northern PA is a little hard to find some of them rust free. And they didn't have a ton of availability that you could actually change a lot of the stuff with that we liked. Uh, so it was more on, you got so good in it, and then it was just kind of just dump more money in it, and never, express your skills a lot is what we seen as it. Then we switched to the 305 uh, wing sprints, and we ran the Allegheny Sprint Tour. And we also ran with the Ford 10s, and we only ran that for 1 year last year. Excuse me. And when we ran that, we ran a lot of 410 races. We ran Tri City, never missed a race out there, and we ended up finishing fifth in points with that sealed 305 in the 410 division. They had somewhat of an okay car count. Usually they were around, 12, 13 cars a night, and we were consistently right in there at fifth. So to get that first top five under our belt for point series was awesome. But we fell in love with just running with the 410s and the community of that division and the knowledge. I mean, you got guys that I've learned from was like AJ, Spithaler, Soderman, uh, Helmley that just has more knowledge than anybody can ever ask for. And them guys will drop of a hat help you out with anything. We actually almost flipped it at Tri City and went up, and Spithaler just handed me a part and said, "Here you go. Meet up with me tonight," and stuff. So that's the racing community that I loved, and I'm glad it's still there. And then we went to Sharon and just tried it, and for the first time ever there, I was there when I was a little kid, but never raced on the track. It hasn't been there for years, and we ended up going ninth out of 31 410s there. So we went back there for the last race of the year, and it I made a big mistake on my part, and we ended up, hanging it up at the B main. I just looped it on the last lap, last turn, and thought I needed to pass one more car, and we were actually in. So we're eager to get back there. We went to 410s in a big way. We actually, it's a whole brand new car. Body, tires, wheels, wings, you name it. And then my big prized possession is it's a almost completely brand new Greshman's dash 12 410. It makes considerably more power. That's a big difference between the 305s and the 410s. A 305, you're comfortably, some people's dynos numbers will be up and down and stuff, but you're averaging around 480, 490 horsepower. The dash 12 is not the biggest 410, but ours is the biggest for a dash 12. We're right around the 800 horsepower mark. But we're gonna fight against people the higher up. You go look at Blaney's and Kyle Larson's and Brad Sweets and stuff. They're running an all pro that's 925 horse. But when you get to a slick track like Sharon in the future, you just can't put all that horsepower down in the features and stuff. You're cutting it way back to maybe 700 horse. So we'll be great at those tracks. And that's where we are going to primarily hit a lot.
Yeah, I think at the after the Commonwealth Clash last year, the high limit race, AJ Flick said about how the track was a lot different than the normal Lernerville, and because it was just real hooked up, And I mean, it got a new track record by, it was a pretty good amount that Brad Sweet beat it by. And he was just saying it just wasn't a fair opportunity for like the more like local guys and stuff because they just don't have the engine power like Kyle Larson's and Brad Sweets and stuff. And I've never seen Lernerville as hooked up as it was. Usually it gets pretty slick like Sharon does.
Yeah, yeah, it usually slicks off pretty aggressively. And it's kind of more of a bull ring. So that helps off with that slicking off there. We were actually ran the 305 race that night there because they only had two sanctioned races. It was the Allegheny Sprint Tour and the High Limits race. We ran the Allegheny Sprint Tour, and we had people coming from all over. I think there was like 5 different states racing there, and it just changed so fast that we've never seen anything like it. Uh, and it really hurt us. We had a bad pill position. We started in the back, and I think there was like 10 or 12 in a single heat. You had 8 laps to get to fourth to make the feature, and it's just not possible when a track changes like that. Um, so we had a rough time there. I just have never gotten a good hookup at Lernerville there. We're usually about mid pack finishing there, really, in the 305s. It's just something that I haven't learned, and we don't really race sharing a ton because it's on Friday. It's hard to get to. Uh, that night, the high limits was there, and we were there. Everything just felt rushed because that was on a Tuesday night, and we just raced a full schedule the night before. So all my guys were tired. We were whooped. We had to work Monday and Tuesday and still get the car ready. It's just it made it tough, and it's not fun when you have to rush like that. And I think anybody will tell you that it's just not enjoyable. It becomes more of a job than what we're there to do. Is just have fun, and we're there for the fans and things like that. Because without the fans, we want to be racing. There want to be tracks open. They don't to contrary believe there. A lot of people, think that the money's coming from the fan or from the racers and stuff, and it's after talking with track owners and things like that, you know, our pit fees and stuff is expensive because of their insurance deal. It's a high tense. Cars are coming off the track fast. So the insurance and things are a little high for them. But no, the way that a track operates and makes some money is really off of the fans that are showing up. You'll see some tracks differ, more fans they get, the better those tracks are doing way better. You look at Sharon, it's a top of the top track there, but they're packing the fans every night they race. So that makes the big difference there.
So, being in a 410 now, like, I guess, like, how excited are you for the upcoming season? And then what are your like plans to run the car? Where at?
All right. So on that note, the man, it is. I'm tickled pink about running these 410s. If you would have told me when I was just a wee lad, 10, or I remember I was 7, and we still have the first picture. My dad was sitting beside me. I was in. I'm not sure if you guys remember Steve Parks. He was the number one. Ran the yellow Pennzoil number 1 in NASCAR, and that was my guy. And so I had a yellow full racing suit. We had a number 1, and if you would have told me then I would be sitting behind the wheel of a 410 sprint car, I would have I would have said there's no way. That's a dream of people, and to get to live this dream is just unbelievable. Um, I spent a lot of long nights working at my job, picking up hours, sponsors, a lot of long hours in the garage figuring everything out. So we are geared up going into it head first. We are planning on running. We're gonna get our schedule out here real shortly. Cars almost done, just a couple little things on that, but we can touch base on what we have left in a little bit. Our schedule is looking, we're hoping, we wanted to get a practice in, but the practices are just getting canceled all over the place, and the weather's just not cooperating. And it usually doesn't for this early in the season. Uh, First race is looking like it's going to be Tri-City the first weekend of May. And then the second weekend of May, we hit Sharon. And then I'll have to look at the schedule, but our predictions are to run Tri-City full-time, Sharon full-time, Pittsburgh Motor Speedway full-time. We're going to run the Lou Blaney Memorial. That's our huge one. That's incredible. 12,000 to win, $1,200 to start. They had 42 entries last year, and they're predicting 90 entries this year. Then there's a couple other little ones, little money races that we're planning on racing at the end of the year, like an Apple Fest and stuff like that. And maybe we're gonna try to get down to Lernerville Stampede and try to grab one of them belts, them belt buckles. But those are the tracks we're running full time. We're also going to run Mercer part time. Knox has not come up. I'm not sure they're going to open back up, or if somebody's going to be buying it or anything like that. If it does, sometime during the middle of the season, we'll run that actually full time also. Other than that, I think those are kind of our major tracks. We were hoping to get out to Atomic or Attica and give them a shot. We're just gonna have to play it by the weather there. We have some backup tracks and stuff. If something close gets rained out, we can travel a little bit. But we also entered in for the Fast 410 series, but we're just doing the PA Speed Week for that one. It's 5 races. Wednesday's Mercer, Thursday is Pittsburgh, Friday Lernerville, Saturday is Sharon, and then we ended out at our home track, Tri-City there. We're gonna give it a shot to run 5. It's a rough schedule. We have amazing sponsors that are helping us out with that. It's a lot of money up front. It's a lot of commitment from not just me, the pit crew, and my family. We have 2 boys and the wife and stuff. So it's a big commitment. It's a lot of time from home to run these series. So I think we're set up pretty good though.
Yeah, that's looking like a pretty good schedule there. Lots of races. With having that many races in mind to run this year, what are some goals that you have for this season?
So this season, the first and foremost goal is Sharon. That's top of the list. We would love to just make the entry into the Lou Blaney Memorial. We would love to make the race with the World of Outlaws at Sharon. We're also entered into that. Those are going to be 2 of our toughest races in the whole year. But the backstory on why I'm so partial to getting back to Sharon was that last race. I've never been one to count laps, or a racer, as a fan, you're kind of, it's hard to follow sometimes, and you're looking at the scoreboard where you're at in the laps. Well, there's so much stuff going on in the car, and the track's changing, and so you're constantly changing your lines. So you're focused on that, and then the aspect that you're going over 100 mile an hour into a complete turn. I started last in that B main and never counted the cars. And at one point, I took it 3 wide and passed them both. And the thing was, as I seen a car that I recognized that started in 4th. I think we started in like 8th or 9th. We started. And the last lap, last turn there, like I was saying, I seen them and I just threw it in real hard and we looped it and got passed by 2 cars. And I didn't realize that I was actually sitting 3rd there and I was passing for 2nd. So I come off and, Dad gives me the riot act. What the hell were you doing? You made it. You were in. Why you get greedy? And I said, I had no idea. I thought I was sitting in 5th. We were going for it. So that's the big thing why we want to get back there. That's the one goal. Those 2 other goals are with the just making those big races, but we want to get another top 5 in points at Tri-City. We kind of have spoken a lot about Tri-City. Between other racers and the track owner, and this guy I think is going to be really good for the track. He's got the backing, he's putting the time in, he doesn't seem like he's messing around with it. As long as the fans will stay with it, the track conditions really not going to change a whole lot. That's downside is because when he bought it, it's too late in the year to put clay on it. It's just going to rip up, make a mess. They do have a new guy. He's one of the elite for the graders, I've been told. So he's going to do his best shot on it. And then we'll get clay after the season's over for next year. I've been told he's redoing the pits, the speaker system, the lights. He's redoing bleachers, concession stands, and bathrooms and everything for the fans. That will be a huge thing right there to make it a lot better facility back to its heyday. There's a lot of history with that track, as you guys know. You had Jeff Gordon started racing in full-size cars up this way, and racing at Tri-City. That's huge thing. I have actually a couple pictures of it. So we got our 5th in points there last year. And I'm not sure we're going to get a plaque for that. So we're talking with them if the owner's going to honor it or if the old owner already bought plaques and whatnot. Either way, we want to get at least another top 5 in points there. And man, being the home track, we would love to pull off a win. That would be a win anywhere under any circumstances. You don't like to see anybody break down and stuff like that. And so we want to have a good solid race with a bunch of cars, and then that will make it really feel like a good win. But if we can get that monkey off of our back, it's been a few years that we have actually got it in the winner circle there. So I think that's about our goals for that.
Yeah, I know I'm excited for the new owners. I just hope it brings people back to the track. I think Merle started out
Merle Black,
yeah. Started out pretty good and they had a good following for a while, but I mean, I feel like the track and everything consistently went downhill after the first year. So
yeah, it did. I think the big thing is I never like talking really bad on anybody because the racing community is so tight. I think the big thing was he had good intentions on it. He kind of lived far away. A big factor is he's he's getting up there kind of in age a little bit, so it was hard for him to be there with, he has multiple other businesses that he's trying to run also. Um, he had the good predictions. I just not sure what really went wrong there. I mean, we kind of have an idea of it, what went wrong. It was kind of treated more of a business where you got to do that, but you got to be really interactive with these sanctioned races and the fans and pay attention to what draws the fans and stuff like that, because you have certain series that don't just have never drawn fans really. Um, and then you got to look at the car count, and you got to stay up to date on, the payouts and stuff like that. That was a big thing that, last year they started upping the payouts, but I think it was a little too late. Uh, you know, the guys that race the 410s at Tri City, we're doing it just because of the heritage. One, me, it's a local track. It's hard to pass up. It's 8 minutes away, and families around here. But it's it's definitely not. We're seeking out money and the prizes. We look at it that, Tri City's 2,000 to win, $300 to start. It's the lowest paying 410 track there is around that I even know of. I mean, anywhere else we're going, we're $3,000 to $5,000 to win, $400 to $500 to start. So it's the guys that you're getting out there for Tri City is, you're getting a really good group of guys. I think this year, a lot of people are upgrading. I think you're going to have a great season of racing out there for a reasonable price entries too. I mean, the entry really is not that bad when you start seeing some of these entries of being, if you want to get into the pits, $40-$50, where ours is 30. So it's not too bad on that spectrum. But it's a big track, so we are burning fuel like no other. It's not to go through 18, 20 gallons of methanol in a night. And last year, I'm hoping between last year and this year, the track surface a little bit better for tire wear. We ran out there, and we come off the one night brand new set of tires on there for the feature, and they were gone. They look like racing slicks. And they're $330 a piece. So when I say it's not, none of us are out here making money. We're not, that night there, and tires and fuel, there's $750-$800. And if you won, okay, you got a little bit of money in there for maybe a case of beer and a steak dinner, but other than that, it's a wash kind of. So as long as we're not going in debt or anything like that, we're good. We'll continue to do it.
Yeah, they say the quickest way to make or the way to make $1 million in racing is start with 2 million.
Yeah, yeah, that's the easiest. I love the motto that my mom actually has put out there. The racer's motto is buy now, pay later. And the only time you ever make money in racing is the day you sell it. So it's not a money making sport there, that's for sure. Is it but it's better than doing drugs, and it gets you get a lot of kids coming in and watching stuff, and it's better than them being on sitting in front of the TV just doing an Xbox, and they're out doing God's knows what and stuff like that. And at least it's a safe environment. It there's only been very, very few accidents ever happened to spectators. So on that note, I think it's a good safe environment for the people to come and watch. And you got your older generation that you can talk to and things like that at the track that will just reminisce about the old days. And I love that. We try to get up as much as possible to the grandstands and meet people and talk to them. And I just love hearing that. I actually a good tip on the history. I got to talk to this gentleman that used to live right down the road from Tri City the day it opened up, and he talked to me about how he was on a race team. They had 3 cars, and they went from just the 6 cylinders, and then they allowed the flathead V8s in, and then the Blaney's came in, what they called sprint cars, which they don't look like them anymore, not even close. And I bet you I sat there for 4 hours talking with this guy, and that the history is just amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard Grandpa say multiple times about how the sprint cars they really changed with Lou Blaney coming over. They were they were pretty good, entertaining racing, but then he came over and just kind of changed everything, kicking everybody's butt back in the day.
Yeah, he blew them all away. That guy that I was talking to, he said Blaney came over and it was like 3/4 of a track ahead. He was gone. He was gone. There was nobody that could even touch him, and that kind of set forth, in motion about, hey, everybody's got to kind of step up their game. We got to get out of these smaller motors, and we got to start changing wheels and even the rubber and stuff like that. And then we start playing with aerodynamics, which is huge in these. It makes it incredible. I think everybody kind of seen what can happen with a high wind, and when they race the 410s, when they just raced them down at Pittsburgh Motor Speedway this year already. If you jump on there, Rick Rare has an amazing pictures. He's got one of Falmey that you can barely see him during the race. And I mean, it's a 5 foot by 5 foot wing on top of a car going over 100 mile an hour with a high wind advisory. It's just not a good deal. And I mean, there's times that we're running 3 wide and you don't want to dare stick your finger in between our car even. And you don't want to touch wheels. It's going to happen. We've had it happen. And you go from looking at something brown to something blue real quick. And I mean, doing a wheelie on a bike or a 4-wheeler is a lot different than doing it in a sprint car, and it's not as fun.
Yeah, I remember last year that somebody had a picture of I think it might have been Rick Rare. I think he had it. I had already seen the picture on Facebook. Then I saw it on Twitter, and somebody shared it and said, or somebody commented, and it was like, I bet you the driver had to change their pants when they got back to the trailer, and because it was what you referenced earlier, like how you almost flipped it over. It was not picture where like you didn't flip it. I don't know how you didn't because it was the everything you would have thought it was going over for sure.
That was an experience there that I hope we're never gonna have to have. I mean, you're in racing long enough, you're bound to turn her over, or have a bad wreck there. But yeah, we went into that turn and our radius, one of our radius rods malfunctioned and then we had, which was, figured it was all right. And I wasn't quite sure what was wrong, but then the torsion bar, the threads ripped out of it, and it just took all of the stiffness out of that right rear. And that's what we figured out at the end, but you can't feel that in the car until it goes wrong. And we went in that turn and it hopped once, and I burped it a little bit, tried to help, and she started going over. I thought we were going over, and there for a while we had all four wheels off the ground, and I'm not sure how, but that was the night that Spithailer helped out on the car. We had, I bet, I'm not even kidding, I bet you we had 20 guys working on that sprint car that night. And we got it back out for the feature, and we ended up getting, I think, 6 out of 14. So we drove her from the back all the way back up, and that just shows you the racing community there. And that was, but I'm sure even like talking with your dad and stuff like that, he knows, things can happen in a blink of an eye. And I've talked with him, and he can't imagine, how far safety equipment has come these days. It's incredible. I mean, we got fire suppression systems that are foam for that methanol, Hans devices, neck restraints. Like my seatbelt, we moved up to a ratcheting seatbelt. So instead of just clicking in your 5-point harness, pulling your straps down tight, it actually has a 1/4-inch drive ratchet that's hooked right to your chassis. And I can reach over and I crank that thing down, so I'm literally one with the seat, and it you don't move at all. It's phenomenal anymore how much it's made it so much safer. There's a YouTube video out there of Justin Peck last year at the end of the year. He touched tires, threw them head on in the wall at 120 mile an hour. Hit that, it knocked him out, and his foot got stuck on the throttle when he was knocked out, and the whole front of the car was gone. The car front was gone, tail tank was hanging on by the straps, wings were gone. There was nothing left of the car, and it kept spinning around until the motor blew up. He walked out of that, got out of that car, had a couple scratches, mild concussion, and he watched the rest of the races from his trailer that night. It's incredible.
Yeah, I remember, and that was actually Zeb Wise.
Or Zeb Wise, yeah.
But they both get into a ton of big wrecks. I mean, shoot, I think both of them last year missed some time with injuries from big flips and stuff. I mean, those two, they're two of the best and very aggressive. And when you drive really aggressive, you sometimes tend to flip her over a little bit more often.
Yeah, there's one guy that I've been learning a lot about, and because I learned some from them guys just watching how they race and what they do. Because I mean Larson's great and everything, but there's a reason why he's one of the best. Is a lot of his stuff is secretive, and you're not going to see a bunch. Marcos Ambrose is amazing. Just looking at his car with his disability and things like that, of how he hasn't affected him at all, is incredible. But the guy that I've been watching really closely is that Tanner Holmes. That kid, young, early 20s, he's amazing. He got to jump into a big time 410 sprint car team. Actually, it was Jacob Allen's car. Jacob Allen won the $1 million shootout and then got hurt. And Tanner Holmes jumped in that, and he was just phenomenal. And I've learned the kid does YouTubes and stuff like that, and he shows everything. And it's just helped me out. Setting up this brand new car, I changed so much to my liking, and seeing how he did things. It's incredible.
Yeah, We watch him a lot. He was good in that shark car. He's I've followed him a little bit this year, and I guess he wrecked the first race out. They fixed the car, and then like last night or 2 nights ago, I guess he flipped the whole car and just like totaled the entire thing. So he's on his backup car now. So
Yeah, he's on the backup car now. But that's he's running a lot of new tracks he's never seen. He's running full time with the World of Outlaws, and you're gonna have that. Um, you're running the elite with the elite guys and stuff. So I mean, you to make the race even, you had to push it past what you ever thought you would push your race car past. And I mean, he's had some mistakes, but you look at like Brad Sweet's setup, they did an unveiling of his trailer. That guy obviously has some mistakes here and there, but his setup's ridiculous. He holds 4 all pro motors in his car in the trailer at all times and multiple chassis and stuff. So and he's tweaking stuff here and there with all that horsepower. It puts so much stress and flexibility on that. That's why a big thing is keeping a new chassis underneath you is huge, because with that stress on that, your 925 horse, 717 foot-pounds of torque on that chassis, it's gonna twist. I mean, they're 1.75-inch main tubes, chromoly, but when you have a bare chassis, a good sized guy can stand in the middle of that thing and pick it up and move it with nothing hooked up to it. So it's we're allowed with how I stand with my fire suppression system and Hans device and stuff. I get a weight reduction. I'm allowed to cross the scale after the feature at 1,400 pounds. So I have to count fuel loss and everything into that aspect. So we got to go out a little heavier. But you think about your daily road car being 3,000 to 4,000 pounds, maybe 250 horse. Chop that in half, add 3 more motors in it, and that's what you're sitting on top of. I mean, the motor's literally bolted to the firewall, and my feet touch the firewall, and the dry shaft runs between my legs. So there is not much room there.
To when you were growing up watching racing and even now, what are some of the drivers that you look up to?
One of the big ones, and I think a lot of guys around here looked up to him and still do, is Bob Fownley is that guy. What I've seen him do is just, when they said that I almost went over and I needed new underwear, I feel like Bob Fownley must have needed new underwear a lot. I've watched him get up on the rails at Knox and jumped it, come out. They had a hump, come out, pop the wheelie, sat it down, upset the car. He jumped up on the guardrails in the front stretch, grinded like a skateboard basically down it, jumped off, another wheelie, put it back into the turn, and kept going. And somebody to shake that back off and keep racing and make the changes after your equipment's damaged, obviously after that one, is incredible. He's a huge one. There's another one that I'm trying to think of right now that I looked up to. He still races here and there. Out at Tri-City. It starts with an O. His last name has a big O, and then it's a dash. O'Neill, no,
O'Donnell, maybe?
O'Donnell or something, I think it was. I don't know if it's O'Donnell. I can't think of his name right now. He's been racing since Dad's been racing. You know, there's on and off, there's been a few that I've looked up to. Family was a big one, and actually first time in sprints there, he'd come up and talk and stuff like that to me. He approached me and kind of talked about how my racing style is and how I can tweak some of it. And, hey, try this. You might like this. I kind of seen you racing a couple times. And so he just gave me some hints, and that made a big difference there. And it all worked. That's, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes actually not everybody's out there to be your friend and nice and stuff, and they'll steer you wrong. But most of the time, they're there to help, and it worked, and we had a great night that night. I think a big goal is not to get lapped this year too. We ran that 305. I mean, we got past some. I mean, we're running half the motor, so it's gonna happen. But I was having a blast. So if we don't get lapped, that will be great, and then pick up a win here or there. Yeah, I asked the wife if we won, she was gonna be like Kyle Larson's wife. She was gonna come out there and shotgun a beer and stuff like that, and she's like, I'm not sure, but I'm like, come on, if I won, and she's like, yeah, maybe. I said, she's like, are you gonna be able to get up on the back of that wing there? I was like, she's like, putting on a couple extra pounds. And I was like, well, I don't know about that one. I said, but heck, all bets are off if we win.
Yeah, well, if you climb up there and fall down, you'll be pretty sore the next day. But
Yeah, I'll be pretty sore then. But if it's at Tri-City, at least I got a couple days before we get back racing there. As long as it's not, one crazy show where I think we got the World of Outlaw shows at Sharon. That's on a Wednesday. And we have a full schedule. We have a race Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Race World of Outlaws Wednesday, and then race Saturday, Sunday. So that's a lot of racing in a row. Those are the ones that are hard. We did have one nasty wreck last year at Mercer. Came out of turn 4, guy blew his motor, spun out, and we were right in his oil slick right at the top of the track, and I looped it on purpose because there was no way I was missing him, and I caught the wall. We ripped the whole front end off, ripped the shocks off of it, and we had a points race the next night at Tri-City. Dad stayed, a longtime buddy, Joel Finley stayed, and we worked on that car until 2 a.m, getting it back perfect, washed everything, loaded it back in the trailer, and we were at Tri-City at 3 p.m. So we got a good group of guys. We're not planning on missing a race from a wreck. It's gonna have to be a nasty one if we miss.
So, what are some bucket list tracks that you want to get to eventually?
Well, I got some of them, just like I think everybody does. We want to race Speed Palace Port Royal. That's some of the elite right there. It's insane. Them guys get a couple dents in their wings for aerodynamics. They throw them away and put a brand new wing on. Brand new tires all the time. So I mean, I gotta start burning up some tires. I mean, we got a lot of sets of new tires and used tires here. Probably 30 sets to start the year. Multiple wings for this year. We'd love to do Port Royal. I don't have the car for it, but I'd like to rent a car eventually one day and hit the Chili Bowl in Tulsa, Oklahoma there. We like to go to Charlotte, run that. Yeah, I think it's Charlotte that Tony Stewart owns. That would be incredible to go there and race with them guys. I don't have any feelings that they're not going to bring back Bristol on dirt anymore. It cost way too much. I helped the buddy go down there in a mini stock and added up his bill, and he was about $8,000 deep in a mini stock, just getting down there, hotel and racing and stuff. When he blew the motor up, the track was just too fast. The banking, you just never lifted. Late model guys blew up motor after motor after motor because they were just winding them out so hard. Trying to think of the guy's big name. He always has a skull on the side of his car.
Scott Bloomquist.
Bloomquist, yeah, Scott Bloomquist blew up 4 motors the one weekend. Yeah, sure, his stuff is kind of paid for, but still, your engine builders don't like that when they're footing the bill for it. Just the same as a small time team like us. You can't do those things. Charlotte is a big one. Port Royal, not really bucket list, but I'd like to get over to Attica and Tomic there. We have a vacation planned for in 2 years to go to Hawaii, and I've already been looking at tracks down there. Maybe I could rent a car, but I think since then all of them have shut down. There's a track that I don't know the name of, but they race it in Alaska, and it's amazing. I mean, you got the mountains in the background, and I've just seen pictures, and it's incredible to race, to be on that caliber of a track and the view and the aspect and stuff. Other than that, I mean, I don't have a ton, but I like to throw in a new track every once in a while. Like this year, it'll be Pittsburgh is a brand new track for us. Latrobe was a brand new one last year, but Pittsburgh, I'm not gonna lie, it scares the hell out of me. You don't lift. It's like the fastest track around. And it's big. It is. It's a whole nother track. I mean, it's basically flat. It's just something that is going to be a whole new beast for us. So we'll see how we do there this year.
Yeah, my first time there, I went down there in March in that race they had, that day race they had, and I'd say it's big. It's bigger than Tri-City, and they're both called half miles, but there's some discrepancy. Now it's a little bit bigger of a half mile, but I guess with racing last year and the past few years, what are some of your favorite tracks that you've been able to race at?
My favorite one, even from the tracks that I raced last year, and the tracks that I've raced previous, even in other cars, my favorite's got to be Sharon. It's mainly the facility is top notch. The guys there will do anything to get the race in good condition. We went there and it has been a pouring down rain, and we're loaded stuff back up. We're ready to pull out, and they're like, "Hold up, we're racing." And they turned that track in, and it threw a lot of guys off because it never slicked off. I mean, it just had bite all night long, and it was phenomenal. And they're just a super nice out there, and that makes a difference. We're partial like the Tri-City. I'd love that thing to come back in its heyday, get Applefest back into it. I loved watching the Pro Stock 50 lap race out there. Even as a racer, I love to still watch. That's one of my favorites. Probably it's got to be Sharon's. We raced out at Hummingbird. We never got to hit Thunder Mountain. We did Marion Center. Marion Center it's a different track if you've never been there. You think at Lernerville, you come off of turn 2, and there's no fence, no wall, and it kind of drops off. Marion Center drops off, and then, I mean, it goes almost off of a cliff. It seems like it. And it's got steep banking. We went all the way down into Virginia 2 years ago and raced. Not Clinton County. They call it the biggest bull ring.
Tyler County.
Tyler County. We went down there and raced. That was fun. I mean, that is a bull ring. You're going down the straight stretches and you're turning the wheel to the right. It reminds me of Bristol, but it's shorter. Yeah, that was a fun track. I would say probably Sharon is. Probably Sharon's one of my better ones. And I kind of like how they shut the gate. You go out, and then the gate where you enter the track is in turn 2. You come in there, but where you go out, they shut the gate there, so you don't have that other opening that you have. That you got to worry about. I'm getting a little close. I need to get down and stuff. It makes it a solid wall around, so you can shove that right rear tire right up against the cushion, up against the wall there, and just hold that and run that lip all the way around. And that's what makes that track so much fun. And there's so many different racing lines on that track. I mean, we're open to going to other tracks and stuff like that, but those are kind of some of our better tracks too, also.
So do you have like a preference when it comes to like what you like track surface wise?
Yeah. So what I like as a track surface to what I'm going to be better at is a lot different. I like it in qualifying. I like it to be real hooked up, tied down. You can just hammer all the way down, where my car, we don't have the biggest motor, and that's where we're going to lack. It's qualifying, because when it's hooked up, I mean, you can put all of those horsepower down. But I feel real comfortable with that as long as it's not bumpy. If you throw it in the turns and it's hooked up and stuff like that, it starts rolling the car over a lot more, and that's when it starts to get scary, when you're starting to run out of a shock. Because once you run out of a shock, then you're starting to pull a left rear tire and stuff like that, and you're going to lose power. And that's where, when it slams down, it gets bite, and then it just sends your car wherever it wants to go. Sharon usually is really tied down. The differences between the track surface of Lernerville and Sharon, they both get slick. Lernerville, in the middle of the turns, won't have any bite. It just gets it gets hard packed, what you call it. So it turns into a slick surface. If you take your foot on that track, you can just skim it and it won't stick at all. You go to Sharon and you can still stick in the turns. You can see the moisture still in the track a little bit if you're racing. When that shadow hits it and stuff like that, you come through the turns, and maybe where a light's placed and stuff, there's a pull kind of there, or it's hitting off of one of those ute tires and stuff, and you can see the spot where it still has a little bit of moisture. And if you get your car set in there and you place your right rear right on that moisture spot, it'll hook real hard and it'll kind of dart you coming out of the turn. So then it's almost like you're taking the long way around the track, because sometimes the bottom of the track's faster, sometimes the top, because they get that long run coming down and they have the momentum. But if you can dart off of it, you're going to get best of both worlds. I love having a cushion there. It's, it's kind of a safety preference. I'll push the car way harder if there is. We went to Mercer and they used to have like that pond clay, I call it. It was that gray stuff on there. And there was never a cushion. So you're looking one way and you're trying to feel where you're at on that lip. And if there's nothing there, you can't tell. With a cushion, it'll actually jerk you a little bit when you touch it, and then you'll hook right up. That's why I kind of like that cushion. It doesn't seem like it when the cushion's all the way up at the wall, like it'll do anything. And we might be throwing sparks off of the bead locker and stuff there, but we can actually feel exactly how far we are away and how close and how hard we're pushing it there, because it'll hit that, it'll hop the tire and stuff like that, and you don't want to hit that cushion too hard, because if you pop up over it a little bit, then you're into just loose dirt. There's nothing there. It's almost kind of like the marbles on a, asphalt track. So cushion, semi-slick in the feature with a little bit of grip. The heat, I like it tied down. And then the feature, I know there's guys that want one line of racing, wants like 3 lines of racing. Personally, I like only 2. I like it when somebody can nosedive it right down into the bottom of the turns and hug the tires or a guardrail. And then I like where there's like a little strip where you won't run and a top line. So you almost have a cushion on the bottom, you have a cushion on top. So, they're both coming out of there hooked hard. And I think you just get a ton of racing. You don't have the dust. You don't really have the mud. So I'm not blowing through tear-offs. If you get those track serviced, you're going to have a heck of a night. And they're not changing so much that you're trying to throw everything in the whole kitchen sink at the race car to try to make it better. You can fine tune it.
So earlier you mentioned that there's just a few more things left on to do on the car, and you said that you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, we can touch base about that. So we with building a whole brand new car, it takes a lot of time, and I've changed so many things on it. Just preference of where I wanted the fire suppression system at. I've mounted it because you have the tank of it, and then you have a steel braided line, and then you have where it actually will spray out of if it gets too hot. So I kind of changed some of that up for safety wise. We ran fuel lines a little different for some safety, and I noticed at the end of the year last year, me being so tall, I have a knee guard that goes right up front, and it connects to my steering box. So I'm not bashing my knees off of stuff. And then with that, there's a little bit of flexibility into it because we're running a lot of like aluminum stuff, lightweight. I noticed it was moving and it was kinking off a main fuel line a little bit. And so we kind of just sat down and looked at the car and was like, well, if it's kicking it off a little bit, maybe we might not be getting all the fuel sometimes. So we rerouted that. We changed up our brakes. We upgraded, we had Willwoods last year, but we were allowed better stuff. We're allowed full titanium brakes and rotors and stuff like that now that we're into the 410s, which will stop you way faster. So we upgraded those. We upgraded rims and tires, engine obviously, wings, torsion bars, the whole 9 yards got upgraded and bearings. Well, we're waiting on our shock package to come back from Slade Technology. Eric Slade's the owner of that, and he just does a phenomenal job. There's a big controversy over who has the best shocks, CSIs, FKs, Slades and stuff. I like Slade because I'll screw one up on Sunday night. I'll overnight it to him. And if I get there Monday morning, first thing, and I overnight it, it'll actually be there that evening. And he'll pay the shipping to back overnight it, and I'll have it Tuesday evening. So, and it's a lot cheaper. I mean, we got about $1,000 in a shock, 4 shocks roughly, in our lowest package. FKs, CSIs, you're talking $3,600 in a shock package sometimes. So that's a big difference for us. So we can have more shocks, more adjustability. We should have those back Friday. We went with the wrap this year. This wrap is gonna be incredible. We went with one guy, and it was just it took months and months, and I couldn't get a definitive answer on the price. And we're running out of time here, so we went with this Davis Designs. He's on the other side of Mercer there. And he's gonna have it. I called him up last Tuesday, and we're actually going to pick it up this week, and it's gonna be installed Sunday. So should be Sunday. We're ready to go, and we got our first fuel shipment from Less Friction Monday morning, 1 week from today. Which Travis is awesome. I mean, no complaints there. He's helped me out so much. He's actually jumped on as one of our sponsors this year. And he's been incredible, and no problems with the fuel. So we'll be ready to hook up and go, and in about a week and a half, we're gonna fire it for the first time next week. It just takes us a little longer to fire it because we don't have one of the starters that hook on the rear, so we have to do it the old-fashioned way and push it. So we're gonna fire it there, and because the only time that motor has been running was on the dyno. We had to actually, when I bought it, I had to change the oil in it. Just had the break-in oil. So we'll get her fired up. Make sure nothing changed with it, and we have a little meeting with Greshman's Motors on some things to do throughout the year. But he's also teamed up with Travis Harry, Less Friction there, and Travis is going to be doing my maintenance, some of my maintenance on it through when we do the valves and things like that, and the seeds, and checking them out, and checking main bearings, and making sure they're staying in good working order. But I'll continue to do most of the maintenance on the motor with cleaning it and getting the old methanol out there and getting some mystery oil on it, keeping it all lubricated and oil, and the race to race things that we do. But yeah, after we fire it up, it'll be go time. Then we're just waiting on this weather.
Yeah, hopefully the weather starts getting a little bit better here soon.
Yeah, I mean, we got a beautiful day right now, but just because it's sunny out, I mean, the tracks are still so damp. If Tri-City switches the schedule and throws one of them on a Sunday, which I'm hoping that they do, we'll be out there to practice. We'll be turning some laps. And that's what I've been going back and forth, and I'm actually meeting with another racer tonight, and to see if we can kind of get more people together to commit to doing a Sunday practice, because their first practice is Mercer's opener. And I've kind of stated that, I don't know if I would do a practice on the same day as an opener. You're going to lose a lot of guys there. And they're taking in considerations and stuff. This guy's just so busy, and he's had so many people reach out and contact him. So he's starting it through it, and we're gonna see what has in stores. But we're looking good for this season.
Tim, do you have any more questions before we wrap it up here?
Nope.
So where can people follow your racing and get some of your merchandise when you get them?
Yeah, so we have a McClintock Motorsports. We actually, with stupid taxes and everything that you have to go through, we actually, our racing page is the same as what we call the business now side of it. It is McClintock Motorsports 19M. Let me check on that here. It's and we haven't got any new t-shirts in yet this year. We still have our old t-shirts, which they're still mostly the same sponsorship, same number. The design has literally changed just a little bit. Well, some. But other than that, we're gonna still stay with the same color. So we'll have those until we get some new ones in. We're just waiting on the wrap to come in and then get pictures of it. And then we'll send it out to our graphics guy, and he'll print up a bunch of them. If people ever want to get a hold of me ahead of hand and say, hey, let me know, I need these or this, or, hey, maybe I want a U size, we can do that. We usually just carry small, medium, large, XL, and then we'll only get like 1 3X and 2 2Xs and stuff. They're so much more. I hate to say, I think we're gonna have to up it. We like to say around $15 a shirt. It's easy. It's 10.5. You get a good deal. Just inflation has been insane. We're probably gonna have to up it to $18, $20 a shirt. Probably stick around to 18 for the smaller, 20 for 2X and up, just because we get charged more money for the larger shirts and things like that. But we do give out some shirts throughout the year with some benefits. Autograph night. Anywhere we go for autograph night, we give out we just at random. Sometimes I know the person some. Sometimes I don't. Last year we gave it out to a little girl and stuff like that. Just came up. It's literally completely at random. I mean, it's just maybe how you maybe ask a question about the car, or instead of just coming up and hurry up and getting a signature and leave and stuff like that, you show more interest and things like that. I'm gonna be like, hey, here's a free $20 t-shirt. Let's get a picture, let's get your name, and let's get you out on the Facebook page there. So they can contact me there. We kind of try to keep my personal Facebook page and the racing page a little bit separate, but you'll see me throw some things on the racing page there. But that racing page there it's more directed just to racing. My wife actually runs that racing page. If I jump on there and say something, usually I'll say that, hey, it's me personally. But I read over everything and we make sure it's all exactly what we want. And that's actually at 19M McClintock Motorsports. It's still the picture of the old car. We'll be unveiling it real shortly here as soon as we get it wrapped. You're not gonna miss it. I think the word kind of got out a little bit that we switched, instead of that yellow green color and stuff. That was a used chassis that we got. This chassis now is a fluorescent orange. And it's going to be white and stuff, but we'll save some of the details there. I figure we'll throw a couple out for you guys here, but it's going to be a car you ain't going to miss it.
So, do you want to give some shout outs to your sponsors and anyone else that helps you?
Yeah, we can do that. Because we're going to list a thing too, also about some of our sponsors, but you know our big one that has been with us from day one of going into the big car racing world here has been Grumpy Goat Distillery. They've just upgraded their facility in a huge way. They're in Franklin on Liberty Street. They just got upgraded and got, you know, half-pound burgers, wings, fries, alcoholic drinks and stuff, and it's affordable. They make their own shine wine, and they're trying to touch into the vodka business there. They also have, pop water, tea, things like that. Gars Excavating in Oil City has been huge. Mad's Tree Service out of Cockerton has been in a huge way. Blake's Racing has their own garage. He's been huge on keeping the hauler and the trailer all up to date and ready to go every, week in and week out and stuff like that. He's been big there. Mark MacGyver with Schaefer's Specialty Lubricants. I've known him since I was just a little kid. He's been there the whole step of the way. He's been great. His oils and lubricants and everything is just it's incredible what they've done. He's been awesome. Less friction with their engines and methanols and stuff like that has been great. Then we got a couple other little ones jumping on here soon. The pit crew has been amazing from, my wife Jessica and my oldest boy Brennan, and Cameron's even getting in there, and I don't think he's really helping out. He's more taking the tools and stuff like that away. And then Steve Hart has been here. Bob Shelby. Bob has actually picked out our design. He's a veteran. He picked up the tail tank design this year. Last year, my brother did that. CJ, he helps out on the car at the races and stuff. Like I said, Joel Finley has been huge, helping us out. He's been in there late nights. Mom helps out a lot at the track, filling out the whiteboard, kind of keeps me in check. Hey, you stop talking. You need to get the tires on the car. You got to go out there. You got to get it. And so she keeps it kind of the more stuff at the racetrack in order, because it can be a chaos mess. But without the sponsors, the guys that help, it would not be possible. So we'd love to do shout outs to them whenever we can. Like I said, we just can't believe we're in this position. This is a kind of a dream come true here, and we're ready to hit the ground running.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep, no problem, guys. I enjoy doing these things, and I appreciate being on your show here.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you on as the season progresses and, check up and, see how you're feeling after winning a race and falling off the top wing.
Yeah, we'll get back on here throughout the season and stuff like that, and hopefully, I'll take that plumbing off. I don't know if I'm gonna be like Tony Stewart and climb the wall, or I can't remember the other guy used to jump up there and do a flip off their car, but I don't think we're doing anything like that. But yeah, hey, if we got to take a spill off of the wing or something like that to win a race, I said, hey, I'll start doing them now so we can get that win.
Thank you again.
Yep, no problem, guys.
That was a great episode with Bodie. I want to thank him again for coming on. We really appreciate it. Go follow his racing page, buy his merch at the track, or hit him up on the Facebook and stuff. Like, follow, subscribe on YouTube, on our video, and follow and rate 5 stars on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And get out to a dirt track this weekend.